Tight bond wood glues, quietly keeping woodworking projects together for over 70 years.
A knife block like this one is a great project, very simple to make, useful to have in the kitchen. It's a gift that anybody you give it to is going to really like. The one I've got here is designed to hold 7 knives, but what's cool about this design is that it's very easy to expand it, to change it, so that it can be adaptable for any different number of knives and different sizes of knives. So let's have a look first at the material that's required in order to make a block like this for your kitchen. Here are the material requirements for this project. First, it's going to be best if you use hardwood, not softwood. In this case, I'm using walnut. To make the design as I have, holding 7 knives, we're going to need 4 pieces that are 3/4 by 4.5 by 10. Grab your pencil and paper and write that down. Then, to create the dividers, the knife slots themselves, you're going to need 10 pieces that are 1/4 by 1/4 by 9.5. To put everything together, I want a glue that is water resistant, because what I'm thinking about here is that you wash the knives, you put them back in the knife rack. If they're still a little bit wet, then we're going to have some moisture down inside there. So I want to make sure that once I make this, it's going to stand up for a long time. So I'm going to use a water resistant glue down there inside the knife block itself. So you can get all your material set up and then you'll be ready to assemble. Before we start on the assembly process, let's look at the block itself so you can understand how this is going to go together. What we've got are 1/4 by 1/4 spacers. That defines the knife slots. So I've got 2 knife slots on the outside, 3 here across the center, and of course you can change that to create different designs for different sizes of knives. I've got a 23 gauge headless pinner nearby. I'm going to use that to fasten the first layer of stuff together here. The other thing that you're going to need are some spacers. For my design, I'm using an 1 1/8" spacer and an 1 7/8" spacer. 1 7/8" will create the 2 slot spacings, and 1 1/8" the 3 slot spacings. So here's how this is going to work. Grab my glue brush, got my glue ready. Remember that these 1/4 by 1/4s are 9.5 inches long, while the larger pieces are 10 inches long. So pick an end and hold the spacers even with that end. I'm also making it even with the outside edge. Get it as good as you can, and can get cleaned up after the glue is dry, but the closer you get now, the better. If you don't have one of these pinners, that's too bad because they're really handy. And as an alternative, what you can do is use masking tape and put masking tape on there as a bridge to hold that down. Once that's dry, you can remove the masking tape and start building up the next layer like we're going to do. Now we're ready for the spacer. So apply glue. Insert the spacer. Keep it flush with the top end here, and fix this one in place. That one's done. Second verse, same as the first. On this one, I'm going to use 4 of the strips and the smaller spacer. I've made up my last layer. My spacer is really stuck in there. There we go. Now what we need to do is put everything together in one big sandwich. The way this is going to work is we're going to switch to clamps. You're going to want a little bit of wax paper so that we're not gluing this whole thing down to the bench or down to my paper here. And again, make sure you keep track of your ends because we're even on one end with our 1/4 by 1/4s, not even on the other. So all I'm going to do now is apply glue to the top of each of these strips, and then we'll make up this whole big laminated knife block. The easiest way to do this is to roll this down on its side, and that way we can register everything down off the tabletop. All I have to do then is pay attention to the end grain up here and work on keeping those components aligned. And then we can start adding clamps. Now that the glue is dry, we can remove clamps and start doing some cleanup on this block. There's a couple ways that you can go after this. If you use a scraper and get most of the glue beads off of the outside here, you could then use a hand plane on here. You could even run this over a jointer in order to clean up the edges. You could use a belt sander. Then a little bit of sanding here to clean up the end grain on this end. I'm going to do that step next, get everything cleaned up and ready for finish. Look at how that walnut pops when the oil hits. Now, a couple things about the knife block. Remember, you can change sizes so it can accommodate different knives. Change materials. It'd be pretty neat to use contrasting materials. So maybe you want to make your main boards out of walnut and the 1/4 by 1/4 spacers out of a maple or a cherry. These are simple to make. Very, very fast, and a knife block is something that really everybody needs to have in their kitchen, so friends and family are going to love them. So good wood, good glue, good project. I'm going to let this cure out, and then I'll come back and do another couple of coats so that we know the knife block is well sealed and it's going to make the cut in your kitchen.